What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're here for another episode of the Right Quality. Emilio, how you feeling, bro?
Wow. Light skin today. Very, very fair in skin today.
Fair skinned is crazy.
How do we? Yeah, that's a crazy way to start the pod with colorist takes. That's crazy. This is a 2 a.m. podcast. I'm up from a late night draft nap.
Well, let's jump into it, man. Y'all, we've given y'all everything in the past couple of months, like month and a half. We've given y'all the top 5 at every position. We've given y'all top 10 all time. That generated a lot of opinions, and we'd love to see the rest of y'all list if y'all haven't told us already. But as we enter the season, it's only right that we begin the season with our top 10 players heading into this NBA season. This is not projection. This is not player ranking. This is, as it currently stands of today, the top 10 NBA players, in our opinion, currently in the league. You ready, man?
I'm scared.
Oh, God. Okay.
I'm scared because there's 3 players that are legitimately, 11, 12, 13 that, might get cooked for not having there. Off pedigree, off what they've achieved, all that. But I'm going off of vibes. It's been that like that since the first time we've done any top whatever.
And that's terrible. And that's terrible. I want.
But I've been on par. Like top 5 shooting guards, small forwards. We were tit for tat. I didn't. I don't even have to put words into it. You saw the pods. I was on it, and I think I'm good.
Vibes scare me though, because it all depends on how you're feeling that day. I don't know how you feeling today, especially being a 2 a.m. special. But nonetheless,
I got someone at number 10 that I think I'll start off because I feel like, I'll put mine out there. You throw yours out there, and then we'll discuss.
Wait, you want to start at 10 instead of 1?
Oh,
I want to start at 1.
You want to start at 1? Okay.
I want to start at 1.
Okay, still discourse to be had here.
Absolutely.
We get to the end of the list, it will get more contentious. I like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm about to start off, about to get cooked. See, I'm thinking, with my media training, I'm like, oh, hit him over the head with some wow, who? And then, we work down, but now they have to wait and see. I like that too.
Who you got at number 1? Who is the best player in the NBA?
The Emilio bias typically shows day to day. But today, I'm throwing my hat back into normalcy. I'm gonna be like, normal people and say the guy that got the ring the last year with this team, the best player on the best team that got it that year, he's got to be the best player coming back. So I'm gonna go with Jokic. Even though there are things that Giannis can do on the court that Jokic cannot. Until he is knocked off his throne, he is coming back as the best player in this upcoming year, in my opinion. And I can tell your face does not coincide with what I have for you, my number 1.
I cannot disagree with you. There's nothing in me that can say that I disagree with anything that you said. I would like to find a counter to the only thing putting Jokic at 1, especially if it's that close, is the ring. That is in no way to knock his postseason run, the run he's kind of been on, like the past 3 years. Yep. I'm not knocking that in any sense. I'm just saying, player for player, regardless of destination last season, I still think that Giannis is. I mean, they're right there. They're right. This is not a situation of one really has a leg up. They are neck and neck for this top position at this point.
I have one other reason why Jokic is the better player at this point, and based off my 2, 3, 4 games of preseason that the Bucks have played at this point that I've seen, in terms of like what it takes to get a bucket, or what it looks like on offense. Jokic definitely has that more effortless version in his game than what Giannis does at this point. Even though his is like, when he attacks, it appears effortless. He's just like punching through people. Still on a night-to-night basis, making it look easy. I still see him trying to go for a pump fake and draw a foul on Chet Holmgren at the top of the free throw line. So like being a critical Giannis fan and like being the fan for him, I still feel like he has a jump still to make to assert his dominance again. I feel like throughout the year he can definitely prove that still as the bias coming out. But right now, it seems like Jokic has found that tick. It's like when a UFC fighter wins the belt, they say they get 30% better from what they were, like their championship version. So we have to see that from Jokic this year now, and then if he gets knocked off at his peak shape, peak form, then
that's a very fair argument. I will say that because that was the case for Giannis following the 21 year. Giannis looked really, really good that following season, and more specifically in the playoffs in 2022. So
and then injury keeps us out, like who's
right.
to say
So
that doesn't reach that next level,
So I definitely understand that. I think Giannis has the same questions that have always surrounded his game, but I think that the counter of that is that he still tends to get better. Like I think the questions that he has are just the weak parts of his game that may not ever reach a capacity where they're a strength. You know what I'm saying? But
and Jokic has the same.
Yeah, right. So I think that's where it's tough for me. I think personally more people probably would pick Jokic before Giannis. I just still, if we're just talking player, like if we're just talking player eye test, I honestly think it'd be 50-50, and I personally would take Giannis, like given everything that I've seen. But like I said, like Jokic is they're 1A, 1B. This really isn't a situation of one being better per se. But we can say 1A, 1B Giannis Jokic, because I think you could argue that for days and you're still gonna kind of end up in a stalemate. But we know, we know they're 1-2 respectively. So,
yep.
Who's at 3?
This is tough because also, looking player for player, there's guys that, physically are domineering over this guy I have at 3, but I just saw him hit a full sprint out to the wing, turn, catch, pull. I got Steph 3. And this is vibes. This is tonight. I took a nap. I slept on it. I thought about the pod. Player for player. It's him. It's him right now still.
This isn't because of the MVP, but I do have
the boohoo MVP.
I do have Embiid at 3. Now, mind you, I will say this. I don't know who your 4 is, but Steph is my 4. So
we're close to a flip flop there. I think who you have at 5, I have at 4.
Fair enough. So I think Joel is there because forget the boohoo MVP as you call it.
Yes. He put up numbers. He did work.
Forget the boohoo MVP. Embiid has essentially been. Go ahead. I was going to say
I have a different name for it, but
right.
But you know what it is.
You know what? Say it for the pod. Say it for the pod, Miguel.
The HND award.
You said the HND?
Those who know. It's like that one Twitter meme where it's like 13 different letters, and they're like, what's your mom saying to you at this point? It's like, get your ass in the goddamn house. It's one of those. But it's easier to figure out. It's 3 letters. Anyways, continue. I took you off of your Embiid top 3 argument.
Yes. So Essentially, he's been on the same 3-year run that Jokic has been on. The only difference is Jokic has made it further in the playoffs, and that honestly was really only this past season. Not to say that Jokic is the better player, just saying. I think that because that discourse has been so strong, him kind of losing that argument to Jokic like pushes him further. And I still feel like we're talking about the third most dominant as far as dominance. He's the third most dominant player in the league, arguably two, depending on how you personally feel. But for most people, generally, he's probably going to be three. It just is. Steph is four, and again, it's kind of right there. I don't like Steph didn't take a backward step at all this past season. But I do. Steph is not in his peak, weirdly enough. Like he's not declining necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying it's a strong decline in the sense
But it's
of
not the 400 threes in one season.
you know what I'm saying? I would say he might be at the tail end of his prime, but this is not his peak, right? Just giving that distinction. That is how he kind of falls. The same way where Bron will fall on this list. I know where he's at for me. I don't know where he's at for you, but he falls in sense of obviously all things considered, he's still one of the best players in the league. And if he's top five for people, that makes perfect sense. But he's not going to be one just because he's LeBron James anymore. So I feel like that's where Steph Curry kind of falls. But I mean, four is obviously still, of course, a hell of an honor, a hell of a respect to be given. So that's just kind of how Joel ended up at three and Steph at four for me.
Yep, that's fair. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess for me, like impact for team and just like what he's done for them still, like getting them to where they were in the playoffs and or at least further than or to the same spot as Joel.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I take that into account, but that's also,
fair.
How it shakes. But also, wait, I have Joel at 5. So I have someone else.
Who's your 4?
You're 5, probably. Luka Doncic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. As a player, like once again, just as a player, special. Dallas, they didn't really set him up for failure by trading all of his defensive acumen away from him. Everyone that could help him on the defensive end. Now I feel like when I'm doing this, I'm doing it for like what they will be this season, what type of player I think they will be. I think Steph will still be top 3 with Chris Paul there. I think the ball moves a little bit better. Kuminga's taking a step. I just see that being that Golden State's still going to be who they are. Clay's playing for a contract. But Luka, I feel like they have a better shot this year. They have Grant Williams to back them up defensively now, start at 4. They look a little bit more like fleshed out as a team. They have a bit more of an identity. I feel like he'll have a 4 season over an Embiid, which they might trade Harden. He might not have the season that like he expects, or he might have to take on more of a load and he doesn't achieve as much. Whereas I feel like Dallas, this is a make or break season. Either they blow up the team after a failure of a season if it looks like it doesn't work with him and Kyrie, or they make the push that they need to if they're going to keep this core together. So I feel like Luka is going to be the top 4 player this year. It's not going to be much with Embiid because I feel like both teams are going to be in a similar spot. That's what I got.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you brought up that point because as you were explaining it, I was saying that, Dallas and Philly, and I guess you could say Luka and Joel, for the most part, are very much in the same position. They've had mild, and I use that word very strongly, mild postseason success. And obviously, as individual players, they've been top players for the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. Luka's probably had more success.
Yeah. So I think this year will be very telling of, okay, of course, it looks a little bit different from Philly because we don't know the situation with Harden. I still think without Harden, they have a solid team. They still have a lot of really good pieces. So, and I think if Maxi's ready to take that leap, I think he could easily replace the role that Harden had in terms of playing off of Embiid. And maybe you just have somebody like Tobias really step up and be a stronger third option. Maybe you have a little bit more balance with other pieces there, but you never know, so. But yeah, I think both those teams are in very interesting situations. But yeah, Luka is 5 for me. I do. There are people that might rank Luka above Steph, and I mean, I guess I can't really
Yeah.
argue that, but I think Luka being right there and that five, honestly, from a standpoint of like just pure dominance and what they're able to do for a team like essentially by themselves. I mean, all of them are pretty equal in that sense. So I think you're splitting hairs. I think the five is still pretty solid outside of that 1A, 1B in terms of like pecking order. But yeah, those five names, I think maybe with a substitution here and there, depending on who you are, make the most sense. But okay, we have the same five players at least for our top five, just a couple switches here and there. I think this is where things get dicey. This is where things get dicey.
6. I think we have the same 6 and 7.
Who do you have at 6?
Surprisingly, I got a man from Boston at 6.
I do as well.
Jason Tatum. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so
then, like our too, because he's just a younger version, same stature, more of a passer. I got LeBron at 7.
Okay. So why did you go Tatum over Bron?
For everyone that thinks I'm faking, let me not show all of them, but you saw Bron at 7, and then way at the bottom. Oh God, I'm drawing all over it. It's Tatum at 6.
This is
God.
They can see this, Miguel. This is.
Hold on. This is. Why is it doing the error of man?
It's fine.
I was still editing it because I was filming. I was deciding late who was what. But Jason Tatum at 6 for all to see.
Right.
Yes, Tatum at 6, Bron at 7. I feel like you said, where it's just like in his prime a little bit more. Bron definitely doesn't have all the same things he's always had, where he's just like playing his full throttle every. I think was it Spencer Dinwiddie saying he's never had a major injury because he never redlines. Like everything he does is like not his full capacity, and he's at that career where I feel like he's definitely taking those liberties and having guys like Rui come in and take more of a load, in Vanderbilt. So it's like
absolutely
we're not getting a top 5 version of Bron this year. It's not like he's not going to produce to make his team succeed, though. It's just that Jason Tatum is at a spot where he's probably going to have to produce more for a team that has less. With probably, I mean, now they have like one of the best backcourts in the NBA defensively in Drew and Derek White. So that's going to help them. But now it's just like a little less depth, and now he's going to have to really, hold that spot to being a possible superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like personally, I called this about a year ago. I want to say it was about a year ago. It was after their series against us in the playoffs last year. It was the series against Brooklyn and then into us, and then really that entire run up until the finals. But Tatum, I've always said that Tatum has been on his way. He's been making his lane for the past couple of years, because I don't think he was this high on a lot of people's list going into last year. Maybe he had cracked 10, but I don't think he was, anywhere close to the 5 to be like one spot away. So I think another season of him producing at the level that he did last year, maybe add some sort of accolade in there, whether that be MVP consideration, whether that be get in the ring, whatever the case may be. I think we're talking about somebody that could be top 5, depending on what Luka does, what Embiid does, like even what Steph does. I mean, his impact, his production is up there. So that's going to be a really, really close race and interesting thing to watch. But yeah, I think Tatum is the best small forward in the league right now.
Yeah.
So him being 6, makes perfect sense. And then, like you said, Bron is still, I mean, maybe not 95%, but Bron is still better than 90% for sure of the rest of the league. So 95 might be a bit of a stretch, just given youthfulness and the parity of young guys in the league that are really good and that will be top players as that transition occurs. But yeah, that 6 and 7 makes sense. Okay, we're aligned. We're
8,
aligned.
maybe 12. It's hot in this place. KD, Kevin Durant. Yeah, it was looking at this, it was hard for me because I'm like, D Book is the leader of the team, but still like the best player on that team who I'm scared most of is Kevin Durant still. Like until he shows me not, until he shows me, I mean, like he's had his like postseason, flubs that don't really get spoken of all that much, but I think still like who he is as a player, he's definitely a top 10 player. He's definitely 8. Like his health is still pretty much there. Like after foot injury for being like a damn near 7-footer, like that's great that he's came back and produced at the level that he has, and now they have a better team comp than what they've had in quite some time. And they had, a team that they thought they could compete last year. So now let's see what they do with Beal and D Book. And I think he's just gonna thrive, just kind of roaming and getting his buckets kind of wherever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think what you're seeing is that when you look at, I mean, Steph's still, 4, but you got Bron 7, KD 8. We got to remember about a decade ago, these guys were arguably, well, Bron was top 5 for sure, but KD was easily making his way. I mean, by
They
the
were
middle,
better
yeah,
than Bron.
yeah, there were years where people were saying that. So, especially that Golden State era where Bron was transitioning from Cleveland to LA. I think a lot of people, might have been giving a nod to KD a little bit. But yeah, him at 8 makes a lot of sense. He's still probably top 5 in terms of like scariest like offensive players for sure. But
Yeah.
all in all, he's still giving you top 10 value on both sides of the ball, I think. But I think 8 makes sense for him. I mean, he's not Bron, but he's right there with Bron. Their production just looks differently. But Tatum's youth gives him the nod past both of them because he's entering the peak of his prime, I feel like. And I think that's the same with everybody else almost outside of Steph. And Steph is just in this because of how Steph plays, his production can stay the same with age because it's a lot of just shooting. Not saying that's all he does, but that's a large part of it. But everybody else is essentially in the peak of their prime.
Yep.
So, it makes perfect sense. But yeah, KD at 8. Okay. Who's at 9?
Someone who they pronounce his name 2 different ways, depending on who you are, depending on how you might know how to say it. Where there's lightning, there is thunder. I'm waxing poetic. Yeah, I got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 9. This is where, like I said, when I said we're gonna start off with a bang, my 10 might be even more inflammatory. I got Shai at 9. Who do you got here?
I got Book at 9.
Book. That's fair. I can't knock that.
I don't want to give away my 10, right? Book is 9 though, because I think that since the finals, like losing in the finals, but then also losing to Dallas the way that they did, and then even with the noise he was making last year because of what Denver was doing, it just didn't mean anything. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
Booker, like the numbers that Book has been putting up, the production he's been giving, despite missing time with the hamstring injury as well, like he's a top 10 player in the league. Offensively, for sure. Defensively, I think he's definitely making strides. And while he's maybe not performing at his peak defensively, the potential, I think, for him is there. I think with the parity amongst their team, he might have more space to buy in, a little bit more to defense from time to time if, Beal or KD is handling the offensive load. So we might be able to see that a little bit more this season. But yeah, I think you got to put him there because I don't think that Booker is much. I don't think he's far away from Tatum. I think they've ultimately enjoyed a similar amount of success. They've both been to a finals and lost. They've both had deep playoff runs and fell short of the finals. Yeah, I don't think that is super far. I still give the nod to Tatum, but I think when you're talking about Tatum, you go from Bron to KD. I also don't think KD the book is that far either. Definitely not from a skill standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like if they're on opposite teams, like Devin Booker versus Kevin Durant is a matchup you still want to see. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why Book is there for me.
That's
And but I think I just need to see one more year from
from
Shea. I think that's it. I think that's really
and
it.
like I said, this is for this upcoming year, and I
Mm,
feel like D-Book, talent wise, I feel like he is definitely top 10. I feel like he is going to not take a step back, not like revert and play worse, but
yeah,
he's going to do less this year. So I think with that, not saying that he is a worse player for it or like he isn't a top 10 player, but in terms of like what he'll produce and what he'll look like this year, he's gonna be like 11 for me. Like I'm gonna say I'm saying right now he's out of my top 10, and 10 might be, like I said, I just player for player and like who's on what team, who are the stars there. And D Book, I think, is going to be playing that secondary role this year. I think KD is still going to be, the best player on that team, not by a wide margin at that, too. Like I said, D Book is my 11. Shea, I just think that coming off this FIBA year, and I really feel strongly that he's going to take them to a place in the playoffs. I think their team comp is crazy. Like I said, last year, they were one of the teams that I was like afraid to look out for because they are rangy. They defend well. Everyone, top to bottom, like on their bench, they have guys that just defend. And I think they're a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams. And I just feel like this might be one of those years where it's like they have that Sacramento King push. If they don't see a Golden State Warriors, they might, see deeper in the playoffs at that too. So I don't know. I think that Shea is going to have a big year, and OKC having a year that they might have might, propel him to what I think would be him being the ninth best player this year.
yeah. So I don't disagree with that. I mean, I've loved Shea's game for a while now, and I loved the leap that he made last season. I think it's very possible for him to build on that leap. I think he now can walk in. I think he now can walk into that situation. He can now walk into that situation and already say, this is my team. My team trusts me with the ball. I've shown that I can be clutch. I've shown that they can trust me in the last seconds of the game. And now I have more options and more time with this team that had the potential to be scary last year. So you have people coming back, more experience. And like you said, they are hungry. And I think in that Western Conference, they're really they're gonna push a lot of teams, and they're gonna find a way into the play-in. And I think they're ultimately gonna make it, even if it's 8 or 7. I think they're gonna make it. So
Take,
I understand. I'm not mad at Shea at 9. I can't argue it really.
yeah, and I think my hot take for this is they're going to avoid playing. They're going to be like a 5-6 seed, I think. I
Interesting.
I think that they, like I said, when I see them, like when we're playing them, it's preseason, albeit, but like these are one of the teams that like I'm kind of afraid for Dame to see, aging smaller guard. We've seen how that goes in the league where it's just like he's coming off screens. He's got Chet behind it, does a step back. He's getting that knocked into the third row, which it did. They got Lou Dort playing like perimeter defense, like not like he's afraid of like any top tier perimeter defender. We've seen what Dame can do, but like he's getting in the paint and there's a lot more range, a lot more defensive versatility that we haven't seen in a modern day NBA in a while. So yeah, I'm kind of taking the bait on what they got over there, but I like what they have right now. So
Yeah, I can't be too mad at that. I can't argue that truly, honestly. All right, you got that 10.
you say yours first, because I'm like I said, I'm getting fed to the fishes, regardless. But I think that he is going to take a major leap this year, and I think we saw it this summer. And I think,
I know who your 10 is.
yeah, who's yours?
Um, I have Anthony Davis at 10.
I can't argue that either. I'll say my argument after you say who you got for me because you already know. I'm pretty sure
You have Ant at 10.
Man. That man is gonna be so tough. Like
He's top 15 for sure.
he's
He's easily
I'm
top 15
watching the game.
to me. To me.
No, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I truly think like physicality wise, like who he is as a player. Like for me, if you compare shooting guards, even like between him and Devin Booker, even though I feel like Devin Booker is definitely has reached, he's reaching his ultimate peak. I feel like the start of Ant's peak is going to be something special. Like somehow in Minnesota, I feel like he's going to make something shake. I don't think that they are a playing team. I don't think that they're going to get to like, even though they should be with who's on their fucking payroll. Like they should be in theory by how much they have on the books for centers alone. But man, I don't know. Just I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, man. That dude is so tough. Like, just if you're watching game, like if you don't watch, because no one watches Minnesota Timberwolves basketball, tough and Olympic basketball. I think he solidified like he is the guy amongst the guys of that next class, and like it. Even if they retool that Olympic team, I still think he makes it, and I still think that then he'll be like, okay, cool. I got to be D Wade. Sure, I'll do it. And then he's gonna have like I just really feel like as a player, his talent is so tangible that like when AD came into his peak, that like you just feel. And I feel like this is gonna be one of those years for him where it's just gonna click a little bit more. Like he's already averaging 26 last year and doing stuff like defensively that a lot of guys can't do in this league. And I just feel like he's reached that top 10 degree. And AD is my 12, and then Kawhi is my 13. The only reason I don't have them there is like, can they make it through a full year? That's it. That's truly the only reason. Because every year it's like they're a top 10 talent, but like we get to see them for like 58 games.
Yeah, no, for sure. AD.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. AD for me is I think that we only have this discourse about AD because he doesn't, play consistently, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that shouldn't be noted because it's not so much that it's in his control. It's just really hard to confirm or be able to like, solidly say you're this great presence when it's so inconsistent when we get to see it. And when we've seen how it can negatively affect what your team is able to do when you aren't able to be out there. I'm not saying jeopardize safety or jeopardize your health or anything like that. It's just the facts, the circumstances of the situation. But
Yeah.
healthy, he should be top 5. Anthony Davis should be up there with the 3 centers that are in the top 5 of this list. You know what I'm saying? The three power forward centers. He's that skill set like that. He's there, and he's not even arguably. Oh, okay. He's arguably the best 2-way player out the 4. I think him and Giannis is really close, depending on how technical you want to get on what on what side of the basketball. But he clears Jokic and Embiid, in my opinion, in regards to like 2-way effectiveness. So he should be up there. But I think he drops to 10 because it's how many games are we going to get? But his talent and his potential in that sense is right. It's ridiculous. So yeah. But I mean, somebody like Ant, somebody like Shea, like they're right there because when I would say that Shea and Ant are probably in the same place. I mean, of course, I think Ant's been in the league maybe like 2 years less or something like that. But they're both in spaces where they took leaps last year. And I think the only place they can go is up. So their understanding of the game, the pace of the game for them, and they're both entering seasons where it's like they've been handed the keys. Ant's been handed the keys in Minnesota, essentially. Shea's been handed the keys in OKC, and it's like we following y'all. Lead us wherever. So I think, and I don't think either of them are scared of that position, that moment, and they want that opportunity to prove it on the biggest stage. So I get why they're in the conversation for sure.
Yeah, and I have a extremely hotter take. Someone that I thought that we were saying top 15. Not to say that they're there yet. It's time to talk about him. It's time to talk about the man that is going to be the next face of the league. Because what it is like I said, preseason talk. This is just what I've seen with him going against the B team, some starters. Wemby's going to be so tough. Can we talk about how tough Wemby's going to be?
So Wemby's going to be extremely tough. Let's just lay that foundation, right? We've seen nothing like Wemby, so seeing this on a night in and night out basis is going to be crazy. I don't want to say too much about Wemby just because we have to see him navigate an NBA season first. And that's not me wishing any type of ill will, but I got to see Wemby play a back-to-back. I got to see Wemby play 4 games in 6 nights. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to see how he responds to this in terms of, can his production stay consistent over an NBA season? If it does, top 20, arguably top 15 by the end of the season.
Dog,
production.
If you have not seen this man play basketball, what he does on a court somehow dwarfs what I've seen Giannis do on the court. I'm like, absolutely. Like, what's happening? See, I need to go to a game. I need to see him shoot a 3-pointer and tip dunk it live. Because like some of that stuff, like over the summer, I'm like, it was almost a fever dream. And now that it's like here and like we get to see it on a game-to-game basis, the NBA is going to be in very good hands. Like I feel like the NBA is about to be in the best fiscal situation that they've ever been in like the last however long. Like I can't remember. Like this is like KD, Bron, like Steph, like era where it's just like, this is the best basketball we've had in so long. Like, and there was only like 4 teams that were good, and now it's about to be like half of the league that's actually had a chance year to year because of the talent that is just so vast in the NBA now. That's why this top 10 list was actually like really hard to do, because the next few years of the league, you can't really point at a team and be like, oh, there's a dynasty chance. Like every other team in the league has something brewing, and it's just like what is going to click and what's, who sticks together, who doesn't. So, dog, they have something down there in San Antonio. Like, tune in if you have not, because God, like it was the tween step back fade for me, and then it was the stopping on one end and then defending the other side of the basket and still getting the block. It was the dunk outside the restricted area. But he doesn't even move his body. He's not like jumping towards the rim and dunking from outside. He is standing outside the circle and reaching over Thomas Bryant is going like that. Like Thomas Bryant's reaction says it all. His hands, this is a full 6'10", 7-footer, hands fully vertical.
Yeah, nah, it's scary.
And he just goes,
it's cool. Scary.
Dog.
No, it's scary. It's scary. No, genuinely, if he's comfortable, like that's my thing. I think it's that I'm not concerned about him playing this level of competition, of course, but it's just like if this level of physicality and competition and the pace of the game, if he doesn't have to really adjust to that, if that doesn't bother him,
yeah, like we saw, like Chet got breathed on by Bron and was out for a full season. So it's like we have to, yeah, like I said, I wanted to put this man in some sort of conversation so early, but I mean, we see the perils, Am I wrong?
Breathed on is crazy. Breathed on is crazy.
He hit him with the normal, just little side step, shoulder bump, foot ligament. Dang. Now we get to see like Chet and Wemby come out together, and like that rookie of the year combo is about to be very, very contentious. Like any time avoiding, because Scoot's in there too. Like
It's
You
gonna be really interesting. Also, Brandon Miller looks really nice out in Charlotte.
And then you have LaMelo going back, like to actually run the helm for them. Charlotte, there's a lot of young cores where it's just like, what do they look like in like 2-3 years?
Yeah,
What
no,
better OGs? Like get better OGs out in Charlotte, please.
yeah, no, I mean, the league in 5 years is gonna be really exciting. But that was a great this was a great segue into my closing question. What are you most excited for this NBA season?
The TMZ photos of Ime Udoka out the club. I was just telling you they need better OGs. They got him out in Houston. Sorry, no. No. I'm rooting for them down there. I'm rooting for them. They got a man out of there. That's all I'll say. They got a man out of there and they dropped him in OKC immediately, expeditiously, uh, as they should have. But what am I most excited for this year? Oof, yeah, the matchups. Just there's gonna be so much drama this year. I feel it. It's palpable. Like Chet already saying like, oh, I guess a headbutt is an unstoppable move to ESPN. Like there's little things already that I see. Like that Chet Wemby series is gonna be great. Scoot Wemby is gonna be great because Scoot is just gonna have a target on his head. He's like, I should have been number one. Yeah, the rookie of the year. That's all just like them too. Uh, we have like Nuggets going back for a repeat, which I feel like they have a strong chance to do. The West is a bloodbath, so it's just like matchups at that point. I don't know. I just want everyone to be healthy. Like the NBA said that the science of rest days are gone, so there's no more load management. Bron has a pass because he's old. Uh, I don't know. There's no one thing that I'm truly looking forward to. The NBA season, it's a joy. There's so much mess. The trades, James Harden not wanting to speak to Daryl Morey, like I love it all. You couldn't tell me one thing to look forward to. Like I'm too ADHD driven. I already named like 20 different things.
All right.
For you, this is more suited for like what are you looking at specifically for this year that's like making it really, tasty?
I think I want to say I'm interested for the parity because I think that while the league is still relatively top heavy, and I think a lot of teams are still just finding their footing, I think that there will still be a lot of good basketball. I don't think that anybody, even including both the Boston and Milwaukee, as far as like people look at the East, I don't think there's an easy road. Like, yeah, we still have to see how teams look, but really interested to see how New York looks. I think New York always has like a fighter's chance. I think Brunson takes another leap. I wonder how that trio of Hart, Brunson, and DiVincenzo look, having that type of chemistry. Does that do anything for Knicks in that culture? I think Brooklyn will be really interesting to watch, like with that core getting some time to really learn each other and build that chemistry going into a season. There's just a
Indiana,
lot.
nice
Indiana
too.
too. So
Halliburton.
there's a lot of interesting situations. And so whether you're looking at the talent at the top or whether you're looking at some of the mid-level talent, like there's stories across the league in regards to where the OGs are and what's going to be their, like, as they're doing their final laps, like what are they going to add, to their resume? You got the players who are in their prime that are essentially like, I'm trying to start my prime now, so y'all don't get a victory lap, essentially. And then you got the players who are trying to say like, no, we coming too. You know what I'm saying? So I like in health, of course, is always the number one thing. But if we can get a healthy league, man, I just think there's so much good basketball to be played. I'm really excited to see how the in-season tournament affects competition, like within the middle of the season. So yeah, I think I'm just excited to see the narratives and the story of the league because I think there are so many and there's so much parity in that sense across the league that it's going to be. I don't think there's going to be there's not a downside anywhere. Like there's going to be a lot of games that are still worth watching. There's going to be a lot of matchups that are going to be worth watching that aren't just top heavy matchups. So
The return of that's what I'm most excited for.
That's going to be, I am excited for that. That's going to be nice too. Hopefully things can, just stay in order and he can he can stay on the court because the league needs that too. So
Less tweets per game. That'll solve an issue. That's one thing.
yeah,
I,
it's
I
definitely too late.
he had more tweets attempted than field goals made. I forgot what the stat was. I could be, it is what it is.
It is
Shouts
what
out.
2 a.m. special, man. We just gave y'all the top 10 players going into this NBA season. Have fun catching the games on opening day and opening week in general. And yeah, we're in season now, so hopefully we'll be able to touch on topics that are happening in real time and things of that nature. But yeah, we'll always have like the burning questions anyway, so there'll always be something for us to talk about. But yeah, y'all enjoy this first week of NBA basketball being back, man. And until next week, we'll catch y'all next time. Peace.
Good night.